역전을 만듭니다. 2점의 자유를.
Winners of the AFC Champions League 2020, Ulsan Hyundai.
You're listening to the KLU United Podcast, proud partner of Football Nation Radio.
Hello, 안녕하세요. Ryan Walters in the Kim Do-hoon Bunker. Back where I belong, back where things make sense, out of the hotel room in Jeonju at long last. And it's a two-man booth this week. I am joined only by Paul Neat. Paul, how you doing?
I'm very good, Ryan. How are you?
Yeah, great. It feels like it's been hours since we've seen each other last.
Indeed, yes. This time people can see our faces again, though.
That's true. Last time they were stuck just listening to the dulcet tones of two northerners, really. I just don't think of myself as often as a northerner, but this nasally Midwestern accent was paired with your northern accent, and we got to do comms again.
We did, yeah. That was very good. We got to call a goal this time. Last time, obviously, it was 0-0.
Yeah.
But it's kind of typical that it was an own goal, you know? They gave us a goal, but it was an own goal. So, but it was fun. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. And thanks to everybody who tweeted to say that they watched and they enjoyed our commentary. Really, really appreciated. Thanks to Rich Wright as well for his great advice beforehand. I was feeling a little bit, not nervous, but a bit overwhelmed, let's say, with the amount of research and whatnot we had to do beforehand. But yeah, it was really, really helpful from him. So thank you very much to you again, Rich.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic to have him impart his knowledge upon us. It's early in the day, whatever. I don't have to be perfect at everything. It's noon, but yeah, he was absolutely fantastic helping out. And we switched it up this year. I was the color analyst, adding flavor, as you might spell it with that extra U in there. Yeah, just sprinkling it in throughout the match. But yeah, it was really fun. It was one of those ones where I think we said this at halftime and at full time. We were like, where did that game go? Like, how did that go so quickly? So that's a good sign.
I would like to address the sound issue. So what happened last year when we did this? We had a sound engineer in the booth with us, and he was very, very helpful. And he would say things like, if you need to cough or sneeze, just raise your hand and I'll turn your mic down. But this time, different engineer, and he left us basically to our own devices, didn't he? And we didn't really know when we're supposed to come in, when we're supposed to stop talking. And I didn't know that my microphone wasn't really that loud.
Right.
I did wonder because I couldn't hear myself in the headset. That's why I had to have one sort of ear exposed. So yeah, apologies for that. But I think it got a bit better in the second half when the goal came. So that's all that mattered, really.
Yeah, exactly. Folks could hear the goal call. So that's what we want. That's what we need. And like you say, I'm just happy that we had a goal. It was an own goal, but we got one. I'm a little jealous. You got to actually call the goal, whereas last year when I was on comms, I think I just let it out with a sigh. But anyway, let's move on to other things. We did have a question come in on Facebook already asking when are the new schedules coming out? And Paul, I believe you have an update on that.
It is already out. It was released about an hour ago, I think. And we have typed it up. We put it on kleague.com so you can find it on there. And it is, if you can't find it on there, then just head over to K-League official Twitter and you shall see it there. So if you have a look at it, it's a bit interesting this year because the Final A and Final B fixtures don't always run on the same weekend. There's some fixtures, Final B, for instance, will have a Wednesday fixture. Final A on that particular round does not. So it's very interesting. Obviously, we have a Gangwon derby to start things off. That's the first game at 2 p.m. on this Saturday. And then on the last game of the season, we have a Suwon derby. So, yeah, very much all to look forward to there.
Yeah, no East Coast derby and no super match to look forward to post-split, which I think is fine. I could also do without Jeonbuk and Ulsan facing each other for the 75th time, but we'll talk about all that in a second because we are here to talk about the split. We're also here to talk about AFC Champions League because it was just over a week ago that I tuned in from a hotel room from an undisclosed location, and we were talking about a semifinal East Coast derby that, boy, did that live up to the billing. That was a fun one. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Pohang making their way to the final for just the second time in their history. Last time it went quite well. We'll talk about that as well. And then we are going to talk about the split. And we'll obviously go over the teams that are there, but we're going to take a closer look at the relegation battle, which is real close.
Oh, yeah.
Real close. The battle for ACL spots, that's third place guaranteed, a little bit maybe for fourth place. We'll talk about that as well. And then, yes, we're going to talk about Jeonbuk and Ulsan vying for the title. Again, facing each other.
But at least this year, though, and I'll get to this a bit later on, we will have a title race going right down to the wire.
That's true. Yeah.
Like last year, things weren't decided before the split like they have been in the past. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Yes, I think the neutrals would like somebody else to win it, but if we can at least have a close title race, I'll settle for that instead.
Nope, not settling for it. Not there for that. We'll talk about that. We're also going to talk about Paul, this year is insane. This year is straight up insane. There's absolutely no rest because we're here talking about ACL. We're talking about the post split. We're going to be talking about the K2 playoffs again very soon. And in the midst of all of this is the FA Cup semifinal, which is coming up tomorrow night here in Korea. We're recording this on Tuesday. If you're listening to the podcast, hopefully you're getting this before the game. We're going to talk about Gangwon FC versus Daegu FC and Ulsan Hyundai versus the mighty Jeonnam Dragons. And those are the semifinal matches. There's so much going on. And then we've got the mailbag as usual. So if you have any questions.
And that is the full title of your team as well.
You have to say the whole thing.
If you look on Wikipedia, you will find that is the full official title.
Yeah.
Like the magnificent Daejeon Hana Citizen as well. That's obviously our full name.
Yeah, Daejeon it needs more words, I think, is
more
what we've always said. Yeah. We've always needed a few more words in there for Daejeon Hana Citizen. Anyway, we do also have the mailbag, and if you have any questions while you're watching during this daytime edition, apologies to Charlotte Patterson for having to do this during the day. She won't be able to watch while working from home in the morning, but needs must. And Paul and I, we just didn't get enough of each other sitting in a very cozy commentary booth on Sunday.
In a broom cupboard, essentially, wasn't it?
Well, I don't like to let all the secrets out. It was glorious. We were in the Pohang.
Yeah, we're the steel yard, weren't we? Obviously.
Yeah, of course. 19 degrees and a beautiful Sunday afternoon.
Indeed.
Where else would we be? All right, let's hop into this, Paul. Before we get going, though, let's hop into the business side of things because there's a lot going on KLU.com and in the news in general right now.
Yes, I will get to a bit of housekeeping first, and that is a couple of articles that we've got up on KLU.com at the moment. First one that you should check out is an interview that you did, Ryan, with Samuel from Jeonnam Dragons. He talks about his time in Sweden and how it's kind of echoed what's happening now, hasn't it? He got to the final of the cup over there in a season that his team were vying for promotion. So there's a lot of similarities there. So do check out what he had to say. There's also a K-League in FA Cup semi-finals preview that is online right now. Has a look at both games, which we will get to as well in a little while. And then, of course, there are the fixtures, which we just said. But in terms of news, Ryan, we will have a new team in K-League. In K-League 2, Gimpo FC, officially, it was announced yesterday on Monday, they will be joining K-League 2. So we'll have 11 teams now.
Great.
We need more teams.
I love odd fixtures. No, I do love the addition of another team. I love the addition of a team that's going to be very easy to travel to as well. Get those flight times in for the away games. Really, they should have an airline partner. If they don't have an airline partner for this, I think they're really missing. They're really missing a beat there.
Can throw them some money. But, my reaction to seeing Gimpo in K-League 2 is kind of indicative of how I've been hurt before. Is that I thought, next season I can go to Gimpo away. Forgetting that Daejeon are, of course, in the playoffs and could go up. But I just think that we'll probably bottle it, and so I'll be at Gimpo away next year.
You could go to the game even if Daejeon don't go there.
Well, I will try and get to at least one game, but, it's better when it's your team away, isn't it,
Oh, agreed. And On this one, and next week we're going to talk more about K-League 2. We still haven't really been able to dive into Gimcheon Sangmu winning the title just because this year's been insane with all of the football that we're covering. I don't love that they're just like, we want in, and they get in. I really wish this was by sporting merit, and Gimpo, they've had that ability in the past. And again, I really just want this pyramid to open up and get some of these K3 teams in. But here's hoping that they don't change their crest as well, because Juventus went and screwed things up. And this is basically the old Juventus crest in a lot of ways. So hopefully they keep it.
Yeah, well, their manager is Go Jong-un, who used to be manager of Anyang, and he said that the aim is to win K-League 3 and then join K-League 2 next year. But they are, I think, joint top at the moment in K-League 3, level on points with a couple of teams. So, yeah, they might earn it in a way, I suppose, by winning K3. But yeah, I do wish that we had the pyramid open up and we can have movement between K-League 2 and K-League 3 and 4, of course.
Yeah.
No,
and 12
not K-League 4, K3, K4, sorry.
Yes. Yeah, the distinctions. I mean, could you imagine having the championship being anything other than the first division? Wouldn't that just be weird if somebody did that?
Yeah, having to explain to people what league Preston are in. It's the championship, but it's the second division.
Makes sense. Anyway, let's talk about a different championship. Let's talk about the AFC Champions League, and let's talk about Ulsan Hyundai losing their first ever penalty shootout in this tournament to their rivals, the Pohang Steelers. This one finished 1-1, went to extra time, went to pens, and Pohang stayed perfect in pens. They went 5 for 5, and that's how they are able to move on. This game, the first half, I think, left a little bit wanting, to be entirely honest, but the second half, it definitely came alive. Luck took advantage of a spilled ball from Lee Jun, got the scoring started, and I'm going to be honest, I thought that was Ulsan. I thought that was just it. I thought they were going to be able to see that one out, but then there's a red card. Won Do-jae gets a red card, and I praised the officiating last week on the show, and I think the officiating overall was quite good. That's not a straight red for me, though.
Yeah, I don't know. Bit soft.
I thought that
he didn't really complain too much, though did he, Won Do-jae?
He didn't. And I was sharing an elevator with the VAR officials as we were finishing up our 11:45 p.m. dinner when we finally got back afterwards. And they were like, we thought we were going to have something to do on that one. We thought finally we would have something to do. But interestingly enough, VAR was set up in Jeonju and it was never used, which might explain why so many of us really enjoyed those games. I felt bad for the folks that were working on VAR because they did put in a lot of work, but it didn't break my heart not to see it. But in that instance, could have been useful because, again, I'm not entirely sold on that being a red card, but it was given as a red card. Pohang had the advantage, and they took advantage of it with Mario Kvesic finding friend of the pod, Alex Grant.
Indeed,
got that KLU pod bump. His first ever AFC Champions League goal, equalized and sent things into extra time. And I guess you just can't count Pohang out. But Paul, how in the world, how'd they do this?
I think it's just that never say die attitude, and they are when it comes to a cup game, they know that they have to just leave it all out there, and that's what they've done. Alex Grant has talked about the team's resilience before, and I think that we are seeing that. And well, he said in an AFC.com interview afterwards that it's a bit like Squid Game for Pohang, where it's, do or die, basically. And I think, that's what we're seeing. And of course, when we get into the final, obviously we'll preview that in due course. But I think if we're talking about a team like Al Hilal, obviously a hugely strong team, you would think on paper they are going to be the clear favourites, and they probably will be. But Pohang, you just can't rule them out. And they are such an unlikely heroes in one respect. They've been the underdogs. They had a very tough group in the ACL. They had probably the hardest group of all the K-League teams because they had Nagoya, JDT, and Ratchaburi as well, who they drew 0-0 with towards the end of the group stage. So compare that to sort of Daegu. They had a very tough group as well. But Jeonbuk and Ulsan, they really had quite easy groups, really. So Pohang, against all odds, they had to go away to Japan and play against Osaka, Cerezo Osaka. They did it. Then you think, okay, how far can this team go? And then now, fantastic. So yeah, I really enjoyed watching Pohang in the Champions League, especially. And yeah, I'm kind of proud. I'm not even a Pohang fan, as you know, but I'm kind of proud of how well they've done this year.
Yeah, I mean, and there have been a lot of really good storylines as well, right? Im Sung-hyup having a bounce back season. I know Scott Whitelock won't necessarily be happy talking about him after the stint he had with Suwon, but Kim Gi-dong was talking about how when he came in preseason, he identified a couple of people specifically, and Im Sung-hyup was somebody that he said hadn't really fully realized all of the aspects of his game, and that's what they've been working on this year. And I think you've seen that come through. Lee Sung-mo is somebody that a young man that still hasn't managed to find the goal in K-League, but is just there for the big moments in ACL. And I know we talked about it last week, and I'll talk about it as long as I can. That goal that he had against Nagoya, just put it on repeat. It was fantastic.
Magnifique. Yeah, it was superb.
And
he had no right to score that from there either. Had no right to score that from there, and just the composure and the confidence, unbelievable.
Past a keeper that's setting clean sheet records in Japan as well.
Right, exactly. But going back to Im Sang-hyup, it just shows that even at 33 years old, you can still learn and improve, and you can teach an old dog new tricks, if you will. So
Let's great for him. He's old. Let's not do that.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously, we haven't got to the K-League United Awards season yet, but Im Sang-hyup has got to be a contender for comeback of the year, surely.
Yeah, I like that. That's a really good shout because in league play, he's also been doing really well. So I think he's up there. And as far as how they did this, Kim Gi-dong was asked that in the post-match, and he was saying that he made a tactical adjustment, especially because Shin Jin-ho wasn't able to play in this match because he was suspended due to yellow card accumulation. So he wasn't there. And so what they did instead was move Kang Sang-woo into a more advanced role and allow him to kind of run the midfield in the way that Shin Jin-ho usually does, but from a more advanced position. And it really worked out for them. And it just showed the versatility of Kang Sang-woo in so many ways. And we'll skip ahead a little bit here because he was my man of the match because of this, because of the versatility that he has and the way that he was able to run that midfield without Shin Jin-ho there. And again, they frustrated Ulsan. They really, really frustrated Ulsan. And I think much in the same way that we had seen Nagoya kind of take over the game at a certain point, much in the same way that we had seen Cerezo take over the game at a certain point, Ulsan did get the goal, but that long extended stretch where you thought, ooh, Pohang, they're exposed here. They might concede. You felt that in the previous two games. And I don't know that we really ever truly felt that in this one. And I think that a lot of that is credit to the defensive line, and I think a lot of that is credit to the midfield. So for me, Kang Sang-woo was the man of the match. Who did you have?
Well, on a similar theme, I would say Alex Grant, just because of how solid that back line was. They only conceded really because of an error. And so I would say Grant, not just because he scored, but because he's just so important for Pohang. Very solid defender. He can pass, likes to get into the box from set pieces, as we saw. And he's just become a really, really essential part of that team. And without him, I don't think they would be in the ACL final, not just because of his goal, but because of his performances throughout the tournament.
Yeah, agreed. I think he's been fantastic. And yeah, also, we love our former interviewees, so we're obviously hoping for him. And to put a bow on this, talking about the Aussie, I am reminded of the 2014 AFC Champions League, where there was a red and black hooped team that was very, very underdoggy in this one. And that was the Western Sydney Wanderers, who went on to beat Al Hilal in the final.
Well,
so we'll see. And that was a two-legged final that they ended up winning 1-0. And yeah, Al Hilal, they're real good. They ended up seeing off Al Nassr 2-1 in a match that also saw a red card. So two derbies, two red cards in the semifinals. Surprise, surprise in that regard. But again, we'll talk more about Al Hilal towards the end of November when the final is coming up. But yeah, Pohang go in underdogs. But again, So do Western Sydney Wanderers. So are the Pohang Steelers the heroes that ACL needs? Maybe they are. And they are also vying. Both teams are vying for the 4th Asian title, not technically ACL because it's had different iterations, but both teams have won 3 Asian championships. So the 2 winningest sides in the continent, as it turns out. So
it's almost like it's almost got a WWE kind of like narrative to it, because Al Hilal weren't allowed to compete in the competition last year, were they? If I'm not mistaken. So it's like an undisputed championship, like we shouldn't have been kicked out of it last year.
Yeah.
So really we should win it. So basically it's like the World Heavyweight Championship and the WWE Championship combined to make the undisputed ACL winner. And
we just need some Jim Ross commentary in the end. That's what we'll do it. Anyway, we're going to take a really quick break, and then we're going to come back and talk about the domestic league. We'll be right back.
FNR is a revolutionary football-dedicated digital platform, the first of its kind in Australia. It provides a 24/7 live online radio platform experience, podcast hub, and acts as a content provider for TV, radio, and digital. Having reached millions of listeners and football fans since launching, FNR is accessible worldwide via its website or app, providing a platform to discuss, debate, and celebrate the world game. We are your voice of football, FNR Football Nation Radio.
Welcome back to the KLU United Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Walters, joined in the 2-man booth by Paul Neat this week. Paul, let's talk K-League 1. I know you and I always like to talk K-League 2 because that's where the party is for now. Always. It won't be for one of us next year, maybe, if we're lucky.
Let's hope. So, not. Yeah.
I mean, look, it's probably going to be Anyang. If we can't both escape, the other one's not going to. But anyway, this isn't a K-League 2 show. That's next week. Let's talk about Final A and Final B. Again, the names...
Not a fan of the name.
Not in love with those names. I liked it much better when it was the championship round and the relegation round, even though it's more than one round. But the naming...
it's kind of ironic that I don't know this for certain, but it seems to me like because the title has usually been wrapped up well before the split or soon into the split, that they changed it from championship round to Final A and Final B. But then since then, we've had a championship round. It has been decided on the last day. So if they just waited a year, we could have had it, its namesake really. But yeah, I'm not sold on the name. You can't have a round of fixtures as being a round and then have round to mean a block of 5 fixtures.
Yeah,
it's either one or the other.
My main thing is that from a content standpoint, it's hard to sell Final A. It's just
Final A.
Anyway,
maybe, but Final B. Yeah, you want some Final B?
No. Well, let's start in Final B then. The teams that are fighting off relegation, and this is a really close battle, and this is where we're going to start after we go through the teams. In 12th, it's Jeonju FC. Moving up from that, I'm not going to list them every single time. It's Songnam FC, Gangwon FC, FC Seoul, Incheon United, and Pohang Steelers weren't able to get the job done and get into the top half. Turns out a win wouldn't have been enough for them anyway. So that's how it happened. Into the top half, in 6th, we have the Suwon Samsung Blue Wings, Jeju United, Suwon FC, Daegu FC, Ulsan Hyundai in 2nd going into the split, which is the first time in 3 seasons. Previously, they had gone in ahead. And in 1st, as always, and somewhere Matthew Binns is smirking as we say Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors are in 1st on goals scored because they are level on points. And Paul, let's go ahead and let's dig into what I'm really interested in. And these are the things to watch in the finals. We've got 5 games left. It's going to stretch into the first weekend of December. So we do still have some time to digest all of these and to get in there. But as we mentioned before, there will be no super match, no East Coast derby, but we do have a Suwon derby to look forward to.
We do. And obviously, when Suwon FC were in K-League 1 last time in 2016, there was a 4th Suwon derby, but that was in what would be the Final B, in the bottom half of the split. This time, it's going to be in Final Round A. And actually, it's funny because the 4th Suwon derby of 2016 was actually exactly 5 years ago this Saturday, ended 3-2. But I'm just wondering, will it produce this kind of drama? Because it was a great game that afternoon. If there's no threat of relegation looming over them, because at that point, Suwon Blue Wings weren't safe.
Right.
They were very, very close to the bottom two. But yes, there's going to be a Suwon FC versus Suwon Samsung Blue Wings derby in the top half of the split, because Suwon FC have finished in the top half of KLU 1 for the first time in their history. Likewise, Nam Ki-il, manager obviously of Jeju United, he has secured a first top half finish in his managerial career as well. So those are perhaps the sort of less glamorous things to look forward to in the final A, final B, but some notable achievements nonetheless.
Yeah, and I think with the Suwon derby, that could be for an ACL spot. And we'll get to that soon, but that could be for an ACL spot. And I think before we get into the relegation battle, massive, massive props to Jeju United and Suwon FC, two teams that came up from K-League 2 last year and are finishing in the top half. And I think this is credit to K-League 2. This is credit to how each of these teams built this season and sticking with it in Suwon FC's case. I think you very easily could have hit the panic button earlier in the season, and they didn't. They stuck with what they were doing, and they got into the top half, as you said, for the first time. So props to those two teams. And yeah, the Suwon derby could have massive, massive implications. But let's get started. Pete's not here this week, so let's get started with Gwangju. Let's talk a little trash about Gwangju, or not. But they did finally get a win. They got a win to end the regular season, if you will. They got a 3-1 victory over Suwon Blue Wings. Suwon FC. It's always going to happen that way. Anyway, they got a 3-1 victory over Suwon FC, which was a bit of a shocker. That has them on 32 points, which now has them 5 away from Jeonnam FC in 11th. Can they pull an Incheon? Can they do the Great Escape?
I mean, if they hadn't have won in the last round before the split, you would think probably not, because Jeonnam and FC Seoul both won. So the win is almost doesn't really help that much. They're still 5 points adrift. I don't know, but they have Jonathan to come back.
Who?
We've been saying that for the last 3 months. So, will we ever see him in a Gwangju shirt? I don't know. To me, it just seems like it's a little bit too much to ask with 5 games to go. I don't know. Their record against Seoul, for example, isn't very good. I haven't looked into their records against Gangwon and Songnam yet, unfortunately. But yeah, I just don't see it. Unfortunately, they don't have enough firepower. Without Felipe, really, they've struggled. Onwon Sang has been superb again. You have to think that he will leave Gwangju at the end of this season. He's got the same agent as a lot of the top Korean stars like Na Sang-ho and some of the young Busan boys like Kim Jin-gyu and stuff. So you would expect him to be shopped around in the winter. But yeah, I just don't think that Gwangju have got quite enough. I think there's more urgency there. There's more quality in the final third at Songnam and Seoul. I think it might be if any team's going to get dragged into the sort of the bottom 2, it might be Gangwon.
Well, yeah, let's talk about that. The 11th place team will obviously have to play in the promotion relegation playoff final this year. We are going to have that because Sangmu, as they were, isn't going to save anybody by being relocated to Gimcheon this year. So in 11th, Songnam, 37 points. In 10th, Gangwon, 37 points. In 9th, FC Seoul, 37 points. All of them are level on points, and just above them, and this is why that Incheon win against Pohang was so massive for them, 40 points, 8th place, Incheon United. And we talked about this during the broadcast of that game. We were mainly focused on Pohang and how they needed to win in order to get into the top half. But for Incheon, this was massive. This was a massive, massive victory for them to distance themselves from that pack. And I think to just kind of prove that they can beat teams like Pohang, who they're going to have to face again.
Yes, exactly. I think, yeah, you're right. That win against Pohang changes the whole outlook for them post-split. They will go into their first game this weekend full of confidence. And they did that without so many of their most important players in the team. Delbridge was injured. Magosha is injured. Aguilar was suspended. So they will have these players to come back just in time. And it was obviously their first win in 7, I believe.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
we talked in that broadcast, Ryan, on Sunday that, usually this is the time of the year where Incheon start to play. They start to pick up results. It's been kind of the opposite way around. But with that win, we might start to see them again start to pick up points and pick up some important wins. But I think they'll be fine. I think it's going to be down to the 3 teams there that are locked on the same points. And I had a little look into the head-to-head records between those 3 teams.
Mm-hmm.
Just a quick overview. Seoul versus Gangwon, it's even with 1 win each and 1 draw. Seoul, Songnam, 2 draws and a Songnam win. Seoul, Gwangju, 2 wins and a draw. Seoul, Incheon is dead even with 1 win each and 1 draw. Then looking at Songnam's fixtures, Songnam against Gangwon is dead even with 1 win each and 1 draw. Songnam, Gwangju, dead even, 1 win each and 1 draw. Songnam, Incheon, 2 Incheon wins, 1 Songnam win. So it is very close down there, very tight, and it's going to be who has the character on the day to be able to get that result, like we saw Incheon do on Sunday.
Yeah, indeed, and I think, it's going to be a really close battle. And again, they are only separated by goals scored, which, as we say all the time, is the tiebreaker in K-League 1, not goal difference. So goals scored is what you want. And that's why FC Seoul is higher, because they have 37 goals scored compared to Gangwon's 35 and Songnam's 30.
Yeah, and Seoul are the informed team. They're unbeaten in 5 with 3 wins. And because they scored 4 against Gangwon at the weekend, that was the first time they'd scored 4 in a K-League match since the Super Match in 2019. That was June 2019, that 4-2 win against the Suwon Blue Wings. So I think they will be fine. I think the fact that they are level on points with Gangwon and Songnam makes it look like they're in more of a precarious position than they actually are. But because of the form they're in, they should be okay, I think.
Yeah. That Gyeonggi derby is going to be a big one for them. It's going to be a real big one for them. All right, let's move into the top half of the table, and let's talk about the fight for AFC Champions League, which it's always convoluted. AFC Champions League in K-League, there are 4 slots. They go to the champion, the FA Cup winner, the runner-up, and then 3rd place. Those are the 4 if everything goes that way, which this year, maybe it will, maybe it won't. In recent seasons, especially last year when Jeonnam Hyundai Motors did the double, then it went to Ulsan and it went all the way down to 4th because of that. Which, interestingly enough, is why Pohang got in there. It was a special year, and now they're into the final because of it. They were also level on points with Kichi after the group stage and got in on goal difference. So it's been a really tight run for Pohang. But anyway, this year it could go down to 4th, but honestly, given the way things are going, I think it's only going to go down to 3rd. Personally, I think that's how that's going to go there. And so right now in 3rd place is Daegu FC on 49 points. And then the 3 teams below them are level on 45 points. We have Suwon FC, who could make it into Champions League the same year that they're promoted from K-League 2. Same thing with Jeju United, who could also get back to Champions League. And Suwon Samsung Blue Wings, a team that I think expect to be there on a year-to-year basis. And they might be a year away, given how young a lot of the key members of that squad are. But Paul, I'm kind of focusing on this as the battle for 3rd because, again, I don't necessarily. I think we're going to have a different FA Cup and league winner this year because the Jeonnam Dragons are clearly going to win the FA Cup, which we'll get to in a second. Obviously. But that battle for 3rd, I think, is how we'll focus on it for now until we know some of the permutations later on. Can Daegu hang on to this?
You would think so. They are 4 points clear of 4th at the moment. That loss against the Blue Wings on Sunday didn't really help them too much. But what I've done is I've had a look at their head-to-head records with the teams in the top 6 to see how they might fare based on that. Now, Daegu have got a better record versus Ulsan, Suwon, and Jeju, and are even with Blue Wings. So based on their form so far this season against the rest of the teams in the top 6, they should do okay. Suwon FC, meanwhile, they've got a better record versus Jeju and the Blue Wings. The rest falls in favor of the opposition. Jeju, the record is mostly in favor of the other teams, but they are dead even with Jeonbuk and Suwon Blue Wings. And for Blue Wings, they are dead even with Jeju, Ulsan, and Daegu in terms of 1 win, 1 draw, and 1 loss. But the other 2 teams, they have the better record. So it's going to be Daegu's to lose.
Okay.
The rest really will have to. When obviously Suwon FC have had a decent record, but yeah, it's got to be Daegu's to lose from here, given they are already 4 points clear.
Well, and Daegu FC are still also in the FA Cup, so maybe that third place will be the cup winner instead, and so it might still go down to fourth. So again, there are a lot of permutations there, but
it's never simple, is it?
No, it's never simple. But I think for Daegu, in a lot of ways, it could be really simple. And like you say, you do have a 4-point lead for what you know is going to be an ACL spot. You don't have to worry about if this happens or this or that or the other or blah, 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 blah. It'll be a playoff spot, but you know that you will at least get a chance at AFC Champions League next year if you finish third. And I think that needs to be the focus for Daegu. You don't want to put all of your marbles in the bag for the Squid Game folks out there. You don't want to put all your marbles in one bag, Ollie. Don't do it.
No.
Don't trust him. Don't do it. Anyway, I don't know why I went New York on that one. Don't do it, Ollie. Anyway, whatever. We'll talk about Squid Game another time.
It's the Yankee pinstripes that you've got on there.
Well, yeah, that makes sense. The Bronx Bombers. I hate the Yankees, by the way. But we'll talk about that in a different podcast that covers baseball, which I know you also love. I think it'll be Daegu. And let's talk about it briefly. Let's talk about Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors being in first, Ulsan Hyundai being in second, level on points, which is how they finished the season 2 years ago when Jeonbuk won the title on goals scored. Right now, Jeonbuk have 4 more goals scored. They have 58 compared to Ulsan's 54. I don't see Ulsan closing that gap right now. And Paul, given their form, 2 losses and 2 in all competitions, are they going to be able to do this?
Yes, I mean, you'd hope so from a neutral point of view that Ulsan can do it. But I feel that momentum is slipping away from them now a little bit. You would think logically, well, okay, so they've lost out on the ACL. Can they use that as motivation to ensure that they do get the job done in the league? It might depend what happens on Wednesday in the FA Cup, because if they lose that as well, then they have to throw all their marbles in one bag, as you said, Ryan, and really go for the title. They are going to do that anyway. Obviously, they want to win the league title, but they were so comfortable at one point, or they seemed so comfortable. I just think that psychologically, is that going to be in the back of their mind? It's getting a bit desperate now. Rather than they were sort of kind of comfortable and looking like they're in control, now it's not in their own hands anymore, because obviously Jeonbuk have got a better goal score record. So it just depends on if they have somebody who can be that sort of junior Negrao from last year, someone who can get them goals when they need him to.
Yeah, I think for them on the mental side of things, I think the FA Cup is absolutely massive. If you go out of Champions League to your bitter rivals, I mean, I know we always talk about Jeonbuk and Ulsan being rivals, but that's because they're winning, and that's because they're at the top of the table. Ulsan and Pohang hate each other. There is no love lost between those two teams, and so losing in grand fashion to Pohang again, I think is really, really going to sting Ulsan. I think we saw that hangover as they lost to Songnam back in league play this weekend. If they then follow that up by being knocked out by the mightiest of K2 teams, that is a rough stretch. So I don't know if they're able to recover from that. Obviously, I hope that's the position that they are in for personal reasons. But I do think mentally going into the split chasing could be better for Ulsan. Traditionally, they haven't done well when they've been there and they need to keep it. They have done better when they need to chase against it. And they still haven't been beaten by Jeonbuk this year. And, maybe it's Ulsan waiting to Ulsan in the most Ulsan of ways, where they're going to wait until the split. And then that's when Jeonbuk wins. And that would, in a lot of ways, give Jeonbuk the title, because they face each other, I believe, in 3 weeks' time. They'll have 2 games to play after they face each other. We just looked at the schedules very briefly before we came on, so I don't fully remember. But I believe they'll have 2 more games after they play each other. So there is wiggle room there, but I think really it's going to come down to that match.
I've got a stat for you. So the team which sat top pre-split went on to seal a title on 4 different occasions, all which were Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors. The team which sat second pre-split has gone on to be crowned KLU champions on 3 occasions, Jeonbuk twice in 2019 and 2020. So make of that what you will. You could look at it both ways, I suppose. But then Jeonbuk were second before the split. Now they've managed to creep into first place. So yeah, who knows? It's going to be go right down to the wire, and I suppose it just means that there's going to be a real K-League title at one of the grounds and a fake one. Which one would you send the real one to?
I'm not doing any of that. There's going to be a helicopter flying between the 2 stadiums. Actually, I think I need to look at the schedules again, and I'll do that at the break, which we're going to take here really quickly. But I think maybe Jeonbuk might be down in Jeju, so that helicopter is going to have a long way to go. We'll see. I don't know.
I hope those sea winds aren't too strong either. Otherwise, they might have to just say, sorry, lads.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, where that trophy goes, I don't care, because I know where that massive cup is going, and we're going to talk about that very soon after we take another really quick break. We'll be right back.
Fans, we want to hear from you. You're encouraged to email KLU at info@kleagueunited.com or tweet at KLeagueUnited with any questions, comments or reactions. Or follow us on Facebook to ask directly during one of our live shows.
Welcome back to the KLU United podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Walters, joined in a 2-man booth by Paul Neat this week. And Paul, let's talk about the competition we all really care about that definitely didn't sneak up on us. We all genuinely do love the FA Cup, but it has snuck up on us through ACL, through the final round of fixtures in K-League 1. But here it is. It's coming up tomorrow night here in Korea. Both matches will kick off at 7 p.m. local time. They've streamed on YouTube in the past. I don't know. Watch it on Naver. If you're here in Korea, watch it on Naver. If you're not in Korea, watch it on Naver. Anyway, the matches that we have coming up are Gangwon FC versus Daegu FC and Ulsan Hyundai versus Jeonnam Dragons, the mighty Jeonnam Dragons. Let's get started with the lesser of the games from someone's perspective. Let's get started with Gangwon FC and Daegu FC. This is a tournament that Daegu have won before, and the tournament that really propelled them into being the team they are now, the title contending team, the team that is regularly in AFC Champions League. And they got that first berth by winning this tournament, beating Ulsan Hyundai a couple of years ago in a freezing cold game in Daegu World Cup Stadium. And now here they are against a team that I feel could be in a similar position. Gangwon FC have been close, right? They've stated their ambitions of being a Champions League. All teams do that for the most part, but Gangwon, it feels like, are a team that they've come very close. They've just barely missed out, and this could be the tournament for them. In this one, it feels like there's more for Daegu to lose, right? It feels like Gangwon's kind of playing with house money in this one.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that's why Gangwon might do it. I think there's no pressure on them, really. It's all about survival in K-League 1 for them. Whereas Daegu, I don't know, because Daegu, obviously, they are sat in third. So they don't have to hedge their bets and win the FA Cup to get into the Champions League. They are kind of comfortable in that respect. But I just think Gangwon might win this. I think that they might sneak a win. Before Sunday, when they lost 4-1 to FC Seoul, they were in decent form. Yeah. They had a mini revival, which is how they managed to sort of go from bottom of the league and looked cut adrift. But of course, had those games in hand because of the various postponements and whatnot. They got the job done. It's all well and good having games in hand, but if you don't win them, they're useless. But they've done that. They're in decent form. And yeah, they'll have nothing to lose really against Daegu, who will be the favourites, even though Gangwon are at home.
Well, Gangwon are at home, and Gangwon have also done quite well against Daegu this year, especially at home. That's where they got 2 wins over Daegu, a 3-0 win all the way back in April, which feels like another life. And then the one loss that they had was in Daegu, but it was an own goal in that game. and a 1-0 defeat to Daegu. And then all the way back in August, Gangwon got another 2-0 victory over Daegu. So it seems like they've got Daegu's number this year, especially while playing at home. And yeah, like you say, I feel like they're going to go out there much in the same way that Pohang went out into the semifinal of Champions League, where it was like, we didn't think we'd be here. Let's just have fun and see how it goes, you know?
Yeah.
And that worked for them. And I agree. I think it could work for Gangwon in this one, but I don't know. Daegu really care about this tournament. And we could see a rematch of the 2018 final, which could be Daegu versus Ulsan. Or we could get the marquee match of Gangwon versus Jeonnam, the one that everybody really wants. That's going to sell the tickets. But yeah, I think this is going to be a very interesting game. I think this one's going to be pretty even, and I expect both teams to be going for this. I mean, obviously it's a knockout game, so both teams are going to go for it, but I expect them to be going for goals early in this one to see if they can get that early advantage and then try to maybe sit back a little bit. But yeah, I think this is a breaking point for Gangwon, to be honest. If they can get this win, if they can get into an FA Cup final, even if they don't win the FA Cup, but if they can get into an FA Cup final, I think in some ways that's proof of concept for them. But at the same time, you're fighting off relegation and league play. So they almost need this, whereas Daegu don't need it to further cement themselves as a serious team in K-League right now. Again, they were in Champions League this year. They made it into the round of 16. They're expected to be in Champions League again next year. That's not the case for Gangwon. So I think it's a make or break game for them. And I'll say they don't get it done. I've just talked myself out of it. I think Daegu will make it onto the final.
Okay, fair enough.
Yep. All right, let's move on to the marquee match, the one that everybody cares about. It's Ulsan Hyundai versus Jeonnam Dragons. The last time these teams faced each other was in 2018, where, no big deal, Jeonnam won 1-0. And that's how it's going to happen again Wednesday night. But no, realistically, and obviously I have very yellow tinted glasses on for this one. Is Jeonnam getting Ulsan at the exact right time?
That's a good question. Yeah, maybe they are. You can look at it both ways. 2 straight losses, 2 kind of damaging losses. So you have to kind of expect there to be, some kind of comeback or some kind of reaction to that. But yeah, they are down. They are suffering a little bit at the moment. So maybe it is. And of course, Jeonnam are the underdogs. They are not expected to get anything from this. They can go there to the Munsu and play without any pressure, play with a bit of freedom. And they've, they managed to get to the semi-finals. You beat Pohang in the last round. People didn't expect that to happen, really. So yeah, why not? I mean, I would say that Jeonnam might have one eye on the playoffs, really.
Sure.
I mean, I suppose the timing of this game comes a little bit more convenient in terms of the overall picture, because if it was a week later, for example, when we're going to be heading into the playoff semi-finals, you would think, well, you have to prioritize one or the other. Really, the last game of the K-League 2 season, you're already in the playoffs. You don't really need to get anything from that. You're guaranteed to finish fourth. It's confirmed now you are fourth. So you can maybe rest some players if it goes to extra time, for example. Then you might not need to play your full strength team, and you can sort of start to look ahead to the 3rd against 4th game in K-League 2. So maybe, yeah. I mean, it's all about who wants it on the day, because it is just one leg, thankfully. One leg. I don't like these 2-legged semis.
No, a single leg is the way that it always should be, because I think because of that, Jeonnam actually has a chance here, right? Because if Jeonnam is facing the defending champions of Asia, which they won't be able to get that title again, but Ulsan Hyundai are the holders of the AFC Champions League title. Jeonnam's not going to beat them over 2 legs, but they could over 1. And I think, as we saw with Songnam, this is a tired team in Ulsan right now. They are a very deep team, and they were built to compete in 3 different championships this year. But this is a brutal stretch of games for them. They went to extra time twice in Champions League in 2 very emotionally exhausting games where they finally got a win over Jeonbuk, and then they lost to their East Coast Derby rivals. They come back and then further seeded doubt by losing to Songnam. So I think if Jeonnam was ever going to get him, now is the time. And maybe that has an adverse effect in this one where Ulsan are a little upset and see a chance for silverware and see a K2 team in front of them and just think, right, let's score 6. Let's see if we can do that. But as we know, Jeonnam plays extremely well away from home. And if the ask is don't let the other team score and hope we can pip one on the counter on a set piece, well, that's our game. That's what we do. That is how we made it to 4th in the league this year. And we've seen that work against Ulsan. If you're organized and you can do it, we just saw Pohang do it. We just saw Songnam do it. So if you can carry out the game plan that again is the Jeonnam Dragons blueprint, you've got a chance. So, I mean, and again, obviously, I'm a bit biased in this one, but I really do think that this could go down to the wire. This could even go to extra time, to be honest, because I just don't see. When Jeonnam need to park the bus, they can. And I think we've seen against Ulsan recently that when teams do that, it's very tough for them to break them down. So a lot of that's going to come down to the wings, though. Those Jeonnam fullbacks are going to have a lot of work to do. A lot of work.
I mean, we can't obviously ignore the fact that Ulsan will be knackered. They've played a lot of football over the last week. Jeonnam have had the luxury of a bit of a rest compared to them.
Yeah, and like you say, with 4th secured, I expect them to put out their strongest possible team Wednesday, and then honestly just play the kids at the weekend. Who cares? Yeah, who cares? This is the game.
Saturday or Sunday?
On Sunday, we have a team that exists in K-League 2. The schedule is coming to me now. It's Ulsan Greeners at home.
Ulsan Greeners at home. Okay.
So, I mean, that's a game where neither team. Like, if that's not a let's see what the kids have game for both teams, I don't know what is. So yeah they're going to throw everything into this one. And I think the Dragons are going to anyway. And I'm going to say, and I believe this in my heart of hearts, not just in my Jeonnam Dragons heart, I think the Dragons do this. I honestly think they do it.
All right, there we go. You heard it here first, everybody. I think it will go to extra time, but Ulsan will sneak it in extra time. I think it will be a valiant effort from, as you say, the mighty Jeonnam Dragons. But I just think in the end, a little bit of quality in the final third. Somebody will pop up with a goal for Ulsan. It would be nice to have a K-League 2 team in the final of the FA Cup, though, definitely.
Yeah, it would. Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see tomorrow night. But anyway, we're going to take a quick break and then come back for a brief Old G. Luis mailbag. We'll be right back.
Ulgi Lewis is your neighborhood British bar and cafe located in the Old Giro district of Seoul. Decorated in old English antiques and furniture for a true homely feel, you can enjoy homemade scones, cakes and afternoon tea during the day, and traditional British favourites like beef stew, English ale, and a fine selection of wines at night. Available for private parties or simply an evening out, Ulgi Lewis is sure to become your favourite neighbourhood pub. Be sure to mention K-League United at the bar during your visit and you'll get 10% off your bill.
Welcome back to the K-League United podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Walters, hopping into the Old G. Luis mailbag along with Paul Neat. And Paul, this week, no Matthew Binns here to read these out, so I'll take the hosting duties and pose the questions to you. And these all came in from the Gram this week. We've got some folks in our stories, starting with Scott Little. And I did this last week, so it's best that I ask this to you. Who's going to go down? Who's finishing 12th?
Well, Scott is an Incheon fan, so I think he's kind of hoping that we don't say Incheon. I think it's definitely Gwangju, definitely. They will definitely go down. They'll finish 12th. And I think Gangwon will finish 11th.
Oh, we're doing the 11th as well? All right. I'll say Songnam finish 11th.
Okay.
and lose in the playoff final to Jeonnam.
I just think Mulic
Boom.
is their joker. You know, he's just signed a new contract as well.
Mm-hmm.
Mulic extended his stay with Songnam.
And I think he'll do great in K League 2 next year.
It'll be even better, yeah. But I just think that they will somehow manage to scrape a win when they need it. They did it last year with Ma Sang-hoon, their centre back, scored twice on the last day against Busan at home. I think something similar will happen again. That's the point. They've done it before, and they'll do it again. Gangwon, this is kind of uncharted waters for them. They haven't really been in a relegation battle quite as tight as this before. They've been in and around the bottom half, obviously, but they've usually finished towards like 7th or 8th. Never usually like this. So,
well, I will say, you know, a Jeonnam away day in Gangneung next year wouldn't break my heart. It's not going to break my heart.
Yeah.
So, well, I don't know. Songnam did just beat Ulsan, so I don't know why I'm saying it's going to be them. I honestly have no idea of those three or 4 teams. I don't think it's going to be Incheon though. I think they'll be fine. I'll stick with Songnam for now. They'll probably make me eat crow and or magpie, as it were. Anyway, let's move on. The next question is from Slashy9. I don't know what your Instagram handle is, but thank you for your comment. And they're asking, can Incheon survive this year? And I think we've both kind of answered that.
Yeah, they will. They're fine. Like I said earlier, the whole outlook, the complexion of the split or final B was much better for them after that win against Pohang. If they had gone into the split with a run of 8 games without a win, then you start to worry. Then you start to get a bit desperate. But they have such a big gap there, a comfortable cushion over bottom of the table. 8 points, is it?
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're fine. I know Incheon fans will be a bit worried because of how it's been a bit different this year. Like we said earlier, normally they find form at this time of year, but they'll be fine. Definitely.
They'll be fine. Yeah, they don't even play in that promotion relegation final. They don't even do that, and I don't think they'll do that this year either. We do have Pete Hampshire watching live on a lunch break, I'm imagining right now, saying that he tuned in just in time to hear us say it's definitely Gwangju, but he says they're staying up, and he's willing to lay a forfeit on it if they don't, obviously, because they had to forfeit a game. I mean, that could be massive. That could really, really be massive. I'm not backing down from my opinion on that one, though. Sorry.
Well, I would love to. I mean, maybe he knows something that we don't. I don't know. Maybe he's been speaking to Jonathan. Maybe he's back in training and he's been doing extra shooting practice. I don't know.
We'll see. Yeah. That's going to be a mountain to climb, and we're going to end on a question that is, in a lot of ways, a Mount Everest to climb. And this came in from Jung Min on Instagram. Can Pohang beat Al Hilal?
Can they? Yes. Will they? Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, I think they're going to do it. You know.
Yeah. They're going to go. They're going to go full Wanderers.
Oh yeah, they're going to do it. I think they're going to do it, and to the delight of Scott Whitelock, Im Sang-hyuk is going to score the winner.
Oh, just with a lovely curled effort from just inside the box, like he did against Nagoya. Yes, please. Yeah. I mean, yeah, his goals have been good, but I mean, I'm not counting them out in this one just because. You can't at this point. No. You just can't, because again, they went to Japan and won there, and then they beat a very good Nagoya team that's very difficult to break down. They put 3 up on them, and then they went and beat Ulsan, which there were extenuating circumstances. Ulsan had just played extra time, blah 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 blah. But you can only play who's in front of you, and Pohang have done extremely well with that.
They have, and like we said earlier with the FA Cup, it's over one game. And if this was a 2-legged final like it would normally be, without the issue of a certain coronavirus, then we would probably say that Al Hilal will be the heavy favourites. But it is over one game. I know it's in Saudi Arabia. I know they have to travel all that way, but you can't count them out on a one-off game. They treat it like a cup final anyway. They've done that all the way through. I think they can do it. I really do. I hope so. Because why does it have to be the sort of battle for the 4th title? You know? Yeah, I don't want to concede that to another nation. You know.
The bragging rights over J League have been extended another year already. If we were able to get the bragging rights over Al Hilal
Yeah.
permanently?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Yes, please. I hope they can do it. I don't know, though. That Al Hilal team is real good.
It is
They're
incredible.
real good.
Yeah.
And the West was extremely strong this year, and they made it through Persepolis and Al Nassr to get to the final, which I would argue is a bit tougher than Nagoya and Ulsan.
But I think if we're talking about Jeonbuk or Ulsan or even Daegu, if they'd have made it to this point, I wouldn't have backed those teams against Al Hilal. But because it's Pohang and just because of they are the unlikely heroes of this year's competition, why not? Why not?
I just hope that, again, I hope they wear the red and black, and it's just going to intimidate all the Al Hilal fans. They'll just have flashbacks.
Yeah, that's right.
To 7 years ago.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes. But anyway, that's it for the mailbag this week. It was a brief one.
Yes, indeed. That is it from us, almost. But a reminder that we do have some So Rare features on Patreon. We have all kinds of tiers and all kinds of goodies on there. But the K-League 2 champion, the $5 tier, that gets you weekly team news, including injuries, suspensions, some transfer rumors when we get into that kind of time of the year, and more. In the K-League 1 champion tier of $10, we have weekly predictions of starting lineups, brand new customized player scouting feature as well. And we'll do a deep dive on a player of your choice, one per month, and send you a customized PDF scouting report. We do, of course, have player interview, the full videos of the interviews that we do. And we are getting into the business end of the season right now.
That's
so
right.
I've already, now the fixtures have been released, I've got in my mind some ideas for who to interview. I want to do a Magosha versus Mulich interview. They are friends off the field, and Songnam play Incheon quite soon. So hopefully I can get that one in the bag. Of course, we'll be talking to Alex Grant perhaps again before the ACL final. So the full versions of all these interviews will be on Patreon. And of course, we do have tiers as low as $1, $3, and $5, but the video content starts from $5. That's
where the good stuff is. And this week, the full interview with Samuel Namani is on there. We went for about 35 minutes, and you can hear, I even included the post-interview bit after I said that was great. And then he had some really good stuff after that. So that's included in there. Some behind-the-scenes stuff is in there for you if you want that before tomorrow night's match. And as always, if you would like to listen to this podcast live, you can do so every Thursday on Football Nation Radio down in Australia. And if you subscribe and leave us a review, 5 stars preferred, wherever you download your podcast, then you'll be entered into this month's K-League Kit Contest, which is for a Daejeon Citizen, no Hana in there this time, 20-year anniversary goalkeeper kit. This is when they made the special badge that actually ended up turning into mainly the current badge.
very close.
Very close. It's a nice looking yellow kit, which yellow's the color of winners. What can I say? But if you leave us a review, you might have a chance to win. Oh, look at that. Look at that. For those watching live, it's a lovely Daejeon Hana Citizen goalkeeper kit.
That's right.
But for now, for Paul Neitz, I'm Ryan Walters. Thanks so much for watching.
Thank you.
정주성 고용 복격기 김신